Welcome to my teaching learning session. I'm Sonal Singh Pawar, taking care of emotional intelligence again, which is BPC 183 today. We start with second unit and second block and the unit 3. We are going to talk about emotional competency today. Let's see the objectives that we have of that. We will be talking about emotional competency, the competency model. So remember, we are going to talk about most of the theories which are associated to competency of emotionality. Understanding and recognizing of one's emotion, we will identify what is the importance of recognizing one emotion, the emotional awareness, and emotionality being universal amongst us. So let's begin. What do we understand by emotional competency? See, when we talked about emotions and we talked about emotional intelligence, intelligence was all about, being able to understand not only your emotions and regulating it, but also being able to understand other people's emotions and understanding it. So emotional competency is a core construct. So it's far more deeper and it's far more in the core central of emotions. It explains the success both at individual, the level of individual employees and the organization. So when we're talking about people having emotional competency, we need to talk about the emotional success that they can achieve emotionally, which is individual wise as an employee, and also in the basis of organization. Also, according to Goldman, emotional competency is an ability. It's a kind of a learning ability which is based on emotional intelligence, which has positive influence on the performance of employees at work. So speaking of that, when we talk about emotional competency, always remember it's going to be an ability. Competency is something that you can learn and acquire. And when we talk about competency, it is something that you probably can develop, which will eventually develop emotional intelligence also for you. And it has a positive influence on the performance of employees also. Also, when we speak about the same, the concept of EC, which is emotional competence, is better understood in context and concept of emotional intelligence. I would not say that emotional competency and emotional intelligence can go hand in hand and they're interchangeably. No, they're not. Emotional intelligence is, ideally defined as an ability to monitor one's own behavior and emotions. And, the fact that we're able to identify, recognize one's own behavior, we will be able to discriminate it and label that behavior appropriately and use it as an information guiding source for in a problem solving situation, in a decision making situation. So when we speak about this, remember, competency can be very well understood when you understand emotional intelligence, because competency states that it's an ability, it's a skill, so you can learn it, but it is very well related to learning how to be emotionally intelligent. Then was quoted Salvo Mayer's famous emotional intelligence definition. And there are three approaches, main approaches of emotional intelligence, which is the trait model, and the ability model, the competency model. So the main approaches of the study of EI, which is, when we speak about emotional intelligence, that was speaking about competency, is the three, that is trait model, ability model, and the competency model. Let's start with the first, which was the emotional competence model. This was again given by Goldman. Goldman has been someone who has studied cognition and also at the same time studied emotional intelligence at great length. Gave us theories, talk about why it's important to recognize emotion, give us the concept of emotional competency also. So 1995, he stated as the emotional competence model that it focuses on behaviors that lead to performance. So competence is talking about that we will focus on those behavior that will lead to performance. And this model conceptualizes that emotional intelligence as a large range of disposition and competency, ranging from emotional traits to learned abilities. So speaking of this, remember the model conceptualizes, which is it states and postulates that intelligence is a large range of disposition. So it's a large range aspect. It's a bigger chunk part of your personality, which is disposition and competency, raising for individual and learned abilities. So that's like a bigger understanding that gave us that intelligence, which is emotional in nature, is something which is a larger part of your personality, and it goes from a lot of individual traits like adjectives that you associate individually to something that you are learning as an ability. Then Goldman also categorized the competency into five. And these five competency that he spoke about was self-awareness, motivation, self-regulation, self-awareness, and empathy together, and social skills. Again, given by Goldman in 1998, which is quite recent if we go back to it. So the competency model had five major, major chunk of categories in within it, which was self-awareness and empathy together, self-regulation, social skills, and motivation. So these were five that we are going to speak about. So let's come back to the understanding. What are competence? We understood that competence is also considered as a skill and an ability that you can learn. Also, at the same time, if we see someone's emotional competence or just the competence, functional, what will it be? See, it's the description of your learning outcomes, meaning what the person knows and how much he or she can do. So competence is ideally your performance. It's very similar to mapping your performance. So it means that what can a person know or prove to have learned as a result of its learning process. So it's moreover, I feel it's performance. Whatever that you gain as performance is competency. So whatever that you learn, you feel this is the much I learn and I know, and this is the much that you deliver. It is a general term that refers to the quality of performance of an individual on specific tasks, which is very true. So, as I said, it's equivalent to performance. Competence is equivalent to performance of a specific ability or skill. Also, when we talk about performance, always remember performance on the basis of what you know that you can do. How much is that coming out of performance? So that is something which is common to understand. Let's start with the first, the emotional competencies. Emotional competency is a bigger term. It will talk about our performance and our ability that we are learning on the basis of emotions, and we have two major broad areas in this, which is the social competence and the social personal competence. Personal competence is, when we talk about it being personal, so it will give an outlook that it's more about you as a person. So personal competence is based on individual's recognition of his or her emotions, and our own ability to comprehend, understand it appropriately and express it, and the ability to maintain that emotional control. So if we compare, the definition of competency in emotional intelligence is quite the same. Emotional intelligence talk about the ability to understand and discriminate, so that you're able to regulate your emotions well. So does competency says that, when we talk about personal competence, it's an individual recognition of his emotions, and the ability to appropriately express it, and then having that maintenance of emotional control and adapt, and it forms the basis of social competence. So when we talk about social competence, personal competence actually forms the base of social competence. The components that fall in the area of personal competence, that means the personal competence itself has quite a many features within it, which is self-awareness, motivation, self-regulation, awareness, and empathy. Similarly, what we did above, these are also the composition of personal competence. Now, let's understand this. When we talked about the five categories that we were talking about, the components of, the first thing that we spoke of, we have categories. So Goldman stated the five categories: self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, and social skills. So how does, the emotional intelligence work? It says that there is a recognition. Awareness talks about who you are. So, as per the image, the awareness does talk about who you are, how do you feel, recognizing your emotions, your moods, drive, as well, the consequences and impact of that, the effect of those emotions onto other people and at times on yourself. Then we talk about social awareness, which is again you understanding who you are, but understanding that emotion makeup of other people also in a gathering. So, in a situation where there are multiple people, being able to treat other people well, being able to understand their emotions, their feeling and expressions well, in relationship to their emotional reaction, which is in relationship to their empathy, the way they express, you being able to understand it in a social gathering. Now let's understand about regulation. Regulation is what I do. So it's self-management. Regulation is about what I do, and then you need to regulate it. So it's the ability to control any sort of disruptive, disrespective, indirect, or redirect impulses and moods. The propensity to suspend judgments, to think before acting. So it's like, having that management of self, being able to control disruptive moods, being able to before making judgments, having that ability to think through the process and then judging about people. Then we talk about something which are social skills. Social skills ideally talks about how do you manage your social relationships. So it's actually the proficiency of managing social relationships, the ability to find common grounds, likes and dislikes among people, and joining hands with them. So that's about how do you handle relationship, keeping the self and the social in consideration. So that was an understanding of the competences, the categories that competence has, which Goldman stated. Now, coming to social competence as after personal, social competence refers to an ability to recognize emotion in other people. So personal was more about yourself. Remember, as social is mostly about others, responding them, understanding them, responding them in an appropriate manner, giving them the opportunity to express themselves, and the components that are under social competence is social awareness, empathy, and social skills, which we just understood in the image above. If you want to go back, you could see the image above. The social awareness and social skills talk about being under the category of social competence. Now, moving ahead, let's understand recognition and understanding of emotion in oneself and the others. So, speaking of this, what does it mean to identify and understand other people's emotion, and is it really that important? So, identifying emotion is also equivalently a bigger skill that we have. So, it's a core skill of being emotionally intelligent, accurately identifying one's own emotions in others. It's like being able to recognize your emotions also, and at the same time being able to recognize other people around us in a crucial skill. And at the same time, understanding what's happening in our inner world and our social world. When speaking of identifying and understanding emotions, it should just not always be understanding yourself. It should equivalently be understanding others and being able to give out that having that ability to not only discriminating that these are my emotion in this category of social environment and these are other people. So having that insight about your inner world and your social world, because the reason is that emotions are containing data and signals that tells us about important information, prepare us, and if you have a great emotional regulation, it tells you how to respond. It tells you how to be in that environment. So it's a complete preparation that emotional understanding emotions provides us. Secondly, see what will accurate identification give us. Already accurately identifying is a skill. You should learn to do it. If you have it, what is going to be its importance? See, it's not only critical to success, so to have the feeling of success and happiness, but in certain circumstances it's very important to have this basic survival. So remember, accurate emotion identification at times is just basic survival, and it has nothing to do with success and happiness in some categories and in some people. So remember, it can have a dual function. At times, for some people, it could reflect success and happiness, and for some people, it could reflect survival, basic survival. Emotional intelligence and emotional understanding other people's emotion could be survival to them. Then, emotional awareness in oneself. See, identifying and understanding emotion begins by developing an emotional awareness and then being able to identify the right kind of emotion, labeling it, being able to manage it. So, for emotional awareness in oneself, there are some skills that you should have. So, let's take an example. If you want to have an emotional awareness of your own self, what all should you do? See, first of all, identifying emotion is the first thing. I feel most of the things will start from there. If you do not know what your emotions are, I feel the awareness does not start at all. Who am I always starts with knowing yourself, no? So, when we talk about knowing yourself, it is identifying emotion, then labeling the emotion. So, once you see that I am keeping very happy today, I have a great day, remember label it. So, it's something that you label the emotion being experienced as an individual of happy, and as a team, you come out as a certain goal of being successful together. Then, describing and expressing the emotions that is being experienced. So, remember, it's always important what you label is also what you should express in the environment. It shouldn't be that you're very happy and there's so much of high sense of anxiety that your body language and gestures reflect. So this is some of the most important key terms to understand how can you develop emotional awareness, because as it consists of these three skills. You need to identify your emotions, you need to start labeling them being experienced, and describing or expressing those emotions being experienced. Then we come to emotional identification skill, which is also an essential component of emotional competence. So, identification of emotion is a skill, like identifying other people's emotions, always going to be a skill. So, the construct is why it's so. The reason is that emotional identification is a skill because we acquire that understanding by interacting with other people. The more that you interact, the more that competence will increase. And this is a very simple thought process about emotional intelligence. The more we start interacting with other people, the more diverse emotions that is we get aware of. The more diversity that you have, the more will the survival and adaptation of emotional intelligence happens to be. So is emotional identification skill. The more that we interact with people, remember, it becomes an essential component of emotional competence. Competence is a skill. You acquire it, you learn it. So, identification will also be acquired and learned when the interaction with other people increases at a greater level. And you're able to, when we're able to label other people's emotion and we see them performing too. Also, the construct, emotional identification can be better understood by the contrasting term which is called alexithymia. It's a disorder. It's a disorder of deficiency. It's an inability to identify and describe one's emotion and externally oriented thinking. So it's a deficiency where you're not able to identify your own emotions. You lack that ability to identify and at the same time describing your emotion. It's like feeling nervous, but you don't know what you're feeling right now. You're not able to identify it, and you cannot label it also nervousness or anxiety. Because when identification is missing, remember the key component, the emotional identification as a skill is missing, you will not be able to label or describe your emotion to any extent. Also, the externally oriented thinking also goes for a toss in this disorder. So, in alexithymia, it is difficult for you to orient and understand other people, and it's very difficult to know what they are thinking and what they might be. They wish to speak to you as per their emotional intelligence. And at the same time, emotional identification skill, in contrast, is marked by awareness of experienced emotion, appropriate identification, labeling, and appropriate expression of the same. Very similar to emotional intelligence, it's only that identification skill is a skill. You can learn it. You can learn it anytime. Then coming to emotional, awareness in other people. So, like personal emotional awareness, where you need to be aware about your own emotions, identifying regulation, etc., and which leads to your own well-being. Remember, once you're able to understand yourself well, it leads to better understanding of other people. It's a very simple, I feel, a very straight line thought this is. If you know who you are emotionally, and this is what you want emotionally, and these are your these are your needs emotionally, remember that's how you will express it also externally to people. So that's how your social awareness will also be developed accordingly. So the better that you're aware, the more experienced that you are, the better that you express in in crucial skill leading environment, and that would lead to better social well-being also. Remember, the inability and unwillingness of you paying attention to your own emotions at times lead to miscommunication, which is, when you don't know what you're feeling, when you have difficulty of understanding of what am I feeling right now, what is this kind of emotion, how do I describe it. So when you don't identify, you don't label it, remember, you are never going to be in tune with your reactions. What you give out as a performance of emotion is going to be different to what you're feeling. This happens with people who are suffering from low emotional stability, extremely low emotional stability. At times they feel uncomfortable because of the presence of others, or because they're not able to understand their emotions. And under the pressure of being with everybody, they want to express something, and they express something which is not in tune with what they're feeling. So this could lead to bigger conflicts, miscommunication, distraction for themselves, and it will develop slowly an inability of emotional competency. So this, and if you want to develop this awareness, remember, please be accurately identifying your emotions. Become attuned with what you're feeling and what you label and to what you express. That will completely lead to better cooperation and communication within you. Emotional awareness comprises of what key terms? It talks about emotional perception and emotional recognition and interpretation, which is very true. If you want to be aware emotionally about yourself, you need to perceive it right, you need to recognize it right, and then interpret it right. Which is, let's take an example. You saw people in a conflict fighting for resources. And in that thing, you perceive that they are fighting because of their ego. You forgot that there were resources involved. So what did you do? Your emotional intelligence did not comprise of proper perception. You did not perceive the situation well. That led to wrong recognition of emotions of people. You probably just label it as per your stereotype. It led to wrong interpretation of that situation. At the same time, when you're able to perceive the situation well, that these people are fighting because of lack of resources, they're probably losing life because of lack of resources, or they're losing their loved one to illnesses. Remember, you'll be identifying their rage behind that lack of resource, and you'll interpret it correctly. So this is how awareness functions in us. And remember what is rightly to be stated. How is emotional perception so important when we speak about identifying emotions and emotional awareness? Because it is the ability to identify emotions in other people. How emotion is experienced, interpreted, depends on how it is perceived. So, if you perceive it well, if emotional awareness about other people's entails making accurate decision about other people's subjective thought and subjective system by interpreting the physical changes, the mental changes through sensory systems, and inferring the implicit meaning of these observed changes, etc. If you're able to do that, remember your perception of emotions of other people is going to be so correct. Some little cues, like some little support that emotional perception can be facilitated by, is called visual cues. Some cues that you should always look into is facial expression, gestures, and body language. So, facial expression, as we studied the last time, that facial expression is also extremely important when we speak about expression of emotion and identification, and equally body gestures. You're an open body gesture, being able to communicate freely, being able to express much and more. These are all visual cues that supports in emotion perception. Also, at the same time, your body posture, which is extremely important. People sitting cross legs and cross hands, people not looking and having an eye contact. These are all postures, not sitting erectly, slouching and sitting. This should make you perceive emotions and identify them accurately, which will further lead to recognition and labeling them. And the lastly would be correctly interpreting it. Also, emotional perception is so important that it's said that at times, the aromas that you perceive through your olfactory system also support you in perceiving emotions. Also, researchers have stated that aromas and scent do have a potent effect in eliciting emotions, which is very true. You know, Good aromas actually make you feel happy, make you feel calmed, make you feel relaxed. Similarly, aromas which are not something which is maybe pungent and tangy to your body and your olfactory systems, it could make you feel uncomfortable and not relaxed and also irritated at some time, irritant also. Now let's come to one of the last part that we talk about this unit, which is unit 3, universality of emotional expression. So, can we imagine that there is universality in emotional expression? Do we have any sort of common area of thought? So, emotion are expressed commonly across this group. Let's go ahead and understand that. Researchers and scholars stated that there was a concept of universality of emotional expression. Charles Darwin, also in his book The Expression of Emotions in Man and Animals, published in 1872, stated that emotional facial expression of emotions are universal, not learned differently in each culture. So, what he's trying to say, your facial expressions, the kind of facial expressions that you give, is universal in nature across all culture. And also, most recently, Paul Eichmann have experimentally established seven, basic emotions for us. And there were seven, and he stated these seven basic emotions are universal seven basic. That means across cultures and ages, these have remained the same and still remain the same for us. So let's go ahead with understanding with the seven basic emotions that we have, which is according to Aikman, it is universal emotions, which is joy, sometimes obviously referred to as happiness, symbolize the raising of the mouth corners, which is tightening, smiling and tightening, the eyelids brightening, tightening of eyelids and they brightening, the brows, spreading out. Surprise is symbolized by arched eyebrows, obviously eyes opening wide, exposing more of the white, and the jaws dropping. This is like the awe feeling, the sense of illumination when we get and we have that sense of surprise. Sadness is symbolized by lowering of the mouth, drooping of the eyes and the corners, and also eyebrows, the movement of the facial expression goes down when we are sad. Anger is symbolized by the eyebrows lowering, like there's an arc shaped eyebrow that we have, the lips are more formed and tightened, the eyes are literally bulging out with a great force, which is anger. Then we have disgust. Disgust is another fifth emotion that speaks about, symbolizing raising your upper lip and, squinching your nose and probably wrinkling your nose and raising your cheek also. This is also, disgust is also equivalent to a mode of irritation on people and agitation at times. Fear is symbolized by upper lids raising, which is this being raised. The eyes opening and the stretching horizontally. Yes, like this. So this is something which could symbolize fear. That we have contempt. Contempt is half of the upper lip tightened up using the muscles of the upper lip, and also often the head tilted on the side. So contempt will be like this. And so these are common. These are some common features that you will find in people across culture. They do not differ. They do not differ at all. The expression as mentioned. See, check out happiness. Check sadness, the eyes drooping, the mouth drooping. Check the contempt, one eyebrows up and the one side of the face going up. Surprise, obviously the jaw dropping, eyes popping out. Fear has do not have eyebrows, completely arcing up. Fears his eyebrows horizontally. Obviously, when we speak about fear, it symbolizes eyes opening and the lips stretching horizontally. And then we have disgust. Disgust symbolizes the raising of the upper eyebrow. And obviously, you see that changes in the lip stretching in a weird position. So is anger. Anger is symbolized by lowering, eyebrows being lowered, lips being more firm, more tightened, that we talk about when we are angry. Our facial language is very tightened when we are angry, when we experience anger. So these are seven basic emotional universal emotions. That's how universality of expression was also stated, that it remains same across culture of the seven basic emotions by Charles Darwin. That completed our block 2 about emotional competency. Now we will come to the models of emotional intelligence in the block 3. These model will be of emotional intelligence, and we will also speak about assessment. So we will also speak about how do you assess emotional intelligence according to this model. So what all are the model of that we are going to take, we are going to make you run through today. This is ability model of emotional intelligence. We are going to obviously do the assessment also of this tool, that how is this assessment of this emotional intelligence goes on. There is a trait model, assessment of the tool based on trait model. We have Geno's model of emotional intelligence, again the assessment of Geno's model, mixed model of emotional intelligence, and there is a Baron model and the assessment of both. Assessment on the basis of performance model also. So last is the performance model of AI and the assessment of tools. So we will do till Geno's and the mixed mood model today to start with. Now, starting with the ability model of emotional intelligence. What does the ability model? I hope everyone knows what's an ability. Ability it's an underlying potential. It's something which is underlying within us. And an ability model talks about four-branch framework of emotional intelligence, which was again put forward by Salvo and Mayer. Salvo and Mayer has been the psychologist who gave the term emotional intelligence and rightly defined it operationally for us. So Salvo and Mayer quoted the fact of emotional intelligence in 1990, and there were four-branch model that emerged that needed to define emotional intelligence in the terms of ability rather than trait or characteristic. So according to this model, emotional intelligence is an ability. It is not a trait. It's not a part of your personality. It's rather an ability, an underlying potential that you're already born with. So there are two categories of intelligence also here. There is cool intelligence and there is hot intelligence. So the intelligence as defined here in the ability model was cool and hot intelligence. The cool intelligence are those that pertain to knowledge that is not personal, but rather is rather intellectual, which is verbal, propositional, math abilities, visual spatial abilities, etc. Hot intelligence are personal because they have to do with the processing of personal information, because it's hot intelligence have to do with something which is more personal, social acceptance, identity, coherence, also emotional well-being. So cool intelligence is more pertaining to the knowledge. It's not personal. Remember, hot intelligence is far more personal. It is the social acceptance, the identity coherence, the emotional well-being also. So this is how we identify the two. And This is the four branch emotional intelligence that we have: perceiving emotion, reasoning with emotions, understanding, and managing it. Completely, this model is dependent, or the ability model is dependent on the definition that was given. So, first is to perceive emotion. This is the first step, obviously, to define and understand emotions. You need to perceive them, you need to understand the verbal, non verbal cues. Once you perceive them, you will reason these emotions, which is to promote understanding and thinking, to promote any upliftment in your cognitive activity, that is, your ability to think, reason well, understand well. If you want to do all of that, remember, you will prioritize what we pay attention and react to when we respond emotionally, when things catch our attention. At the same time, once you're able to reason your emotions, which is you're able to start using it, promote that in your thinking, you need to understand your emotions after perceiving and reasoning. That how we perceive other people's emotion, how it is different from ours. And for example, is acting angry, could be your work, it could be because of other people, it could be because we have to speed up our work and our target points. So this is how we are understanding emotions of us and other people. The last branch of emotional intelligence, according to ability model, is regulation, which is management of emotion. The ability to manage emotions effectively is the key part of emotional intelligence. And regulating emotion, responding accordingly, not having any emotional outbursts, not throwing your emotion on other people, actually becomes one of the most pillar point at the last final branch. So it's perceiving emotion, reasoning with it, understanding your own and other people, and regulating so that you're able to respond to other people correctly and manage your emotional aspect. So this was the ability model. Let's understand this ability model. How was the assessment in this model done? See, unlike the self-report measure, which is a paper pencil test, like you have set of questions and you do it, which is the self-report measure, which completely rely on our, like for example, if I'm doing a paper pencil test, like 16 personality factor questionnaire, it will lie on my perception. So whatever I answer as my skill, so it may be prone to biases, a lot of biases, I feel. And emotional intelligence under this four branch model of assessment, it measures other mental abilities that would be by assessing performance in testing situation. So here, the ability model tests our mental abilities by checking our performance. So it assesses performance in some situations, probably putting us in situation that test our ability. The MSCEIT, which is Salvoy Mayer Carusa Emotional Intelligence Test, was one of such test based on ability model of testing performance. It was initially normed on the sample of 5,000 men and women. That means the test was conducted as a pilot study when it was growing on 5,000 men and women, which is again a norm, and it is designed for people aged 17 and above. So a person below 17 cannot be doing this test. This test has 141 items divided and bifurcated into 8 tasks, where you need to do like 141 items and conduct them in 8 tasks, and two each of every branch model is there. So every two task has one of the branch model. So two tasks would be of perceiving emotion, two would be understanding, two would be managing, and two would be something which is interpreting. So this is what MSCIT, tool of ability model was. Now let's move to the subscales of MSCIT, which is ability tool model. Some of the subscales, which is understanding what all else it's checking apart the four branches. It is checking, the emotional perception through faces and picture tests. So the tasks that we have might have some picture test and faces. It might have, you need to perceive emotions in oneself and others. So you might be shown some stories, might be shown some pictures, some objects where you need to perceive it. Then comes emotional facilitation and synesthesia test, which is the assessing the ability to generate, use, and feel emotions. So when we spoke about perception, there would be two tasks where you might be shown pictures and faces where you need to perceive emotion. The second, task would have features of emotional intelligence, which is you are assessing the ability to generate, use, and feel emotions as necessity to communicate feelings or employ them in other mental processes, which is your ability to generate the kind of emotion which is required in situation A, use it there, feel the emotion, and whenever necessary, communicate the feelings. And at the same time, using the same emotion in another mental process. I'll give you an example for this. Emotional facilitation talks about, for example, you're able to understand there are people fighting and there's a lot of anger and frustration amongst them. That's, feeling emotions. Now when you go to another situation that has the similar kind of thought process and similar kind of built up of frustration, you're able to now very well understand and employ your feelings and your ability to assess and generate in the third, which is understanding emotion. The measures, you're able to measure the ability to understand emotional information and how information can be combined, progressed, and understood in different kind of situations. Then we come to something which is managing emotion, which is the it assesses the ability to see, openly being able to feel emotions, to modulate them in oneself and others, and to promote the personal understanding and growth. So this is managing emotion, which is the last branch that we had. Now, the tool approximately takes 30 to 45 minutes, along with 141 items and 8 tasks. The tool is approximately takes 45 to 30 minutes. Some people might finish those in 30, some people might take it 45. We can, I think, to just, manage the human errors, we can say a good individual can finish it from 45 to 50 minutes. And it's not a time bound test. Timings are just generally given that how many, the 5,000 people as sample completed maximally in 45-50 minutes. Then, after the ability model, which had four branches to understand emotional intelligence, let's come to the trait model. Trait model is a model which was rejected by the ability model. Ability model stated that it's an underlying potential and not a part of personality. And traits are a part of personality. They are a huge part of the adjectives of your personality are obviously a huge part of you. So adjectives are the trait model. So this trait model of emotional intelligence takes view that that may be considered opposite to the one propounded, as I said, by the ability model. Emotional intelligence is not a real intelligence, therefore it cannot be measured as an ability because emotions are subjective in nature. So Petridis in 2004, unlike the ability model, stated that these are traits that can keep changing according to situation and time. And as they are so subjective in nature, you really cannot measure it. So Petridis and its et al., which is other colleagues, stated in 2004 about this, which is a complete opposite of ability model. Ability model has given us assessment, given us task to assess, 141 questions to do. Then trait emotional model under this model is thought to be situated when within personality framework and is defined as a constellation of emotional self perception located at a lower level of personality hierarchies. So as I stated, in the beginning, in a simple terminology, it is trying to tell us that this trait model says that our emotions are a part of our personality. It's one of the constellation, like, which is one of the part of our personality which help you perceive, understand, manage, and it's on the lower hierarchy of your personality. So emotion comes at the lower level according to the trait model. Also, Petridis terms that this as a trait emotional self-sufficiency, self-efficacy, which means he stated and gave us a term of trait emotional self-efficacy. This means that emotions are subjective and emotional intelligence is quite simply an individual's own perception of their own ability to work with emotions. So, as stated, this view has already stated that emotions are so subjective that you cannot map them. Also, the term of emotional intelligence was quite related to the perception of your own ability. So, according to them, intelligence is just about you. It's not about regulating other people. It is just about you, an ability which is just about you. Also, thus the straight model focuses on what? It focuses on a particular personality traits, helpful in regulating and perceiving emotion. It emphasizes that emotional perception model of emotional intelligence assessment and emotional traits in one's personality plays a significant role in emotional intelligence. So remember, it's not a usual part of it. According to this model, emotional intelligence, the trait model states that the emotional self-perception and emotional traits of one is part of one's personality. So it's not a, it's something which does play an important role in emotional intelligence, but it is not regulating. Whereas ability model gave the entire importance to emotional perception. So this is how we differ. And remember, when we speak about this theory, this is what in smaller crux this is. Part of individual personality will comprise of emotional self-perception and your emotional trait. A simple understanding. So according to trait model, your personality is holding your emotional traits and also holding your emotional self-perceptions. So, the emotionally dwelling situations that you have perceived and the emotional traits. So remember, this falls in lower hierarchy according to this. Personality is the bigger chunk according to this model, according to the trait model of intelligence, emotional intelligence. Now, let's understand how is this tool of trait model made, because according to them, it was subjective in nature. It's difficult because it will lead to a lot of biases. So what they did, they started measuring emotional intelligence on self-reportings like inventories, questionnaire, and one such famous questionnaire was Trait Emotional Intelligence Questionnaire, which is called as TIQE, which is TEIQUE, developed by Petrides and his associates. The latest version of this questionnaire now has been modified to 153 items and providing 15 facets and 4 factors and a global trait EI. So you get a label of global trait EI, which is your emotional trait. And the 15 facets of personality includes adaptability, optimism, impulsiveness, self-motivation, empathy, emotional self-perception, emotional regulation, expression of emotional self-esteem, happiness, social awareness, stress management, and management of others' emotions and relationships. So these are 15 facet that this 153 scoring questionnaire, which has been devised, which is called the Trait TIQ, has been mapping us. Then the questionnaire has been translated to 15 languages already. Now, coming to another model, so we understood that how the two models were so different from one another. The ability model stated that we can map it, we can assess it, and we do not want to do a paper pencil test. We make up questionnaire which has items and some task also to be done. So there, I think physically indulgence is equally important because emotional perception was a larger chunk and it was an underlying potential. Whereas when we talk about the trait model, personality is the larger chunk. The emotional, the image that I showed you, the emotional traits and emotional self-perception is a part of that personality that you're holding. Now, speaking of a new model that we have, which is called the Genos model of emotional intelligence. Genos EI was conceptualized by Ben Palmer and Constu of Swinburne University as a specific need was felt to design. This theory came in when people felt that we need to start, defining emotional intelligence in a unique way, that it's a specific need of leaders, human resources. So we started using emotional intelligence in more professional platforms. So this model was designed to meet the unique specific needs of business leaders, human resource professionals, organizational psychology and occupational psychologists to identify employees for learning and development at workplace. So this was given by Palmer, Stu, Hammer, and Gignac. So we understand this theory completely falls into a different category because it was made identifying the specific needs of people at workplace, and this was like specific needs. They identified that there were needs of leaders, the human resource professionals, there were occupational psychologists, and this Genos model came in. This model is organized to reflect the role of emotional intelligence competency as they are listed below, giving rise to a more productive and unproductive state. So, more morally in association to your work, that how emotional intelligence and what is emotional intelligence role, that it gives us more productive, constructive, or unconstructive state. Emotional self awareness, being aware of the way one feels as well as the way one impacts one's feeling and can have on decisions, behaviors, and performance. That is emotional awareness. This is more self. We've already done this before. And emotional awareness of others is understanding, perceiving, understanding, and acknowledging other people's emotion, and also demonstrate having that ability to demonstrate empathy to them. Not sympathy, but empathy, which feel it's just like feeling in their shoes. It's not showing compassion and pity. Then the last is another one is authenticity. Authenticity, I feel, is a simple word as genuinity. Openly, honestly expressing the right kind of emotion which is being transmitted and which is very transmitted and keeps the commitment, being very genuine. Simple terms, being very genuine and honest about your emotions. and emotional reasoning. See, emotional reasoning, I feel, is one of the most important cognitive aspect here, which is cognitive, which is thinking, reasoning, understanding. One of the most thought and high order, productive and unproductive state is emotional reasoning, which is considering and using your own and others' feeling, decision making, integrating the facets and technical information, as well as communicating this process to others, which is understanding your own and other people's feeling, then deciding for your processes, integrating all the facts while working and technical information, and then communicating it through people or to people, or the entire process to people. Then there is self management, which is management of one's own mood and emotions, time, and behavior, even in high pressure and demanding context. So, see, these are the productive and unproductive states at work. And the last is positive influence, which is creating a very healthy positive influence at workplace, giving an environment of other people to grow, understand their problems, they provide feedback and support. So it's creating a healthy work environment by impacting others feeling through problem, which is, understanding what other people are going through, problem solving through feedback and support. So it's more worker oriented. I think positive influence, I feel, is far more people oriented. Let's understand these. This is like a beautiful diagram to understand this Geno's theory. Let's come to it. So let's talk about the present state and what are the core emotional competency. Let's talk about the self-awareness that we did in the beginning. Unproductive state, it's disconnected. Productive state is present. Self-awareness is that you are able to have an awareness of your own self. So the core intelligence is that, in the productive state is present. Awareness of others, when we are, if we are not able to be aware of others, what could it lead to? You're insensitive at workplace of others feelings and emotions. And if you are, you're very empathetic. You're listening, you're solving other people's problem, etc. Let's come to authenticity as a core competency. See, if you're not authentic, what can you be? People will at your workplace not find you reliable and you're untrustworthy. And if you are, you are genuine and reliable. Let's come to another, which is emotional reasoning. Say if your reasoning is less, you'll be limited in your decision making. Less people will come to you, I think, for support also. And if you're completely very high in emotional reasoning, you're very expansive. You involve a lot of people together. Then there is self management as a core emotional competency. And if it's when self management is less, remember, you end up being very temperamental, very distracted, very agitated. And if it's too high, the management is good, you're resilient, you have that bouncing back feeling within you at a workplace. And positive influence is creating a great environment. If you created a great environment, you're empowering others to grow, you're giving them opportunities to grow, inculcate great values, and succeed in their own vision. Remember, if you do not have positive influence at your workplace, you are obviously very indifferent. And here, people might leave work, not listen to you, find the work organization not a perfect fit for them. So, this is how these core competency beautifully changes into unproductive and productive states. If you have it and if you do not have it. So this diagram, like beautifully, the Geno's process, when stated that they wanted to identify emotional competence and emotional intelligence in workplace, this was a beautiful way to represent it in their understanding. Now let's come to the assessment of Geno's thing. Speaking of Geno's assessment, and then we compare all of them. See, assessment tool of Geno's model stated that they created an inventory like any other. So they created a Geno's EI inventory, a primary tool for assessing emotional intelligence within the Geno's framework, they will have all those productive, unproductive core competency that we just studied. It was originally again published at the same university they all functioned and worked, which was Swinburne University Emotional Intelligence, and they named it also Swinburne University Emotional Intelligence Test, which was sweet. And it was given by Parman and Staub in 2001. Later, it has been furthermore revised so that it can perfectly fit into organizational system, etc. It is especially designed for workplace context. Did we realize? We'll compare the assessment of Geno's model, the ability and trait model, to understand where all are these applicable. So, speaking of the Geno's model, assessment is highly applicable at workplace. We can put it in the organizational system and facilitate the human resource functions of identifying competency in people, learning in people, developmental area, their strength, weak, and opportunities can easily be identified. It can support you in employee selection by the core, from the core categories that we just did, the self awareness, self understanding, empower, positive influence. We can identify who has the best core competencies, and identifying them and finding it in one person is like hitting the jackpot. You found an excellent co worker, a worker to be employed. This tool is far more behavior based assessment. It's more behavior based. It comprises of 70 items that are source rating on emotional intelligence, and that source ratings on emotionally intelligent workplace behavior, and from reporters who have the opportunity to observe a person's frequently. So this is a, as we said, it was a behavior based inventory. It is something where reporters have the opportunity to observe people frequently, and thus more than one rater can provide the assessment. So these 71 items can probably be done by your HR, could also be done by a fellow colleague, and we can call it as a peer assessment or a nomination scheme, which we can make them do. So it's a very, I feel, very productive and very action oriented rater scale. And rater scales are something which is very, it's very productive. It's very helpful to understand people. Now let's understand these models and their assessment and compare them and find out, strike out the difference. Coming to the first, going back to make you understand, this was the ability model. Let's understand the differences. Ability model had four branches. These four branches of emotional intelligence, and he categorized two intelligence, the cool and the hot intelligence. And at the same time, the assessment was simply, a testing tool, which was an emotional intelligence test, which was MSCIT, which was having how many number? It has 141 items, which was based on 8 tasks. So 8 tasks, two each for the branches that we had. Also, not a time-based model, this was. And also, when we talk about ability model said that emotional intelligence is a part of you. It's a greater part of you. And it relies on individuals' emotional perception. So the core concept was emotional perception and their skills, which is perceiving, understanding, reasoning, and managing. So even the tasks which were done by individual themselves were two each. So it's more a self-done thing. 141 to be completed in approximately 1 hour or so. And also MECT had its sub skills, as we mentioned, the emotional facilitation, perception, managing emotion, etc., and understanding, which we've done even before. It takes 45 to 1 hour maximally, not a time bound test. So we realize four branches bifurcated into 141 items and 8 tasks. Everything is done by the subject. It's an underlying ability. Remember, it is your ability. It's a part of you, according to the ability model. The trait model stated that ability model is completely incorrect. So the first incorrect, the reason that they stated it was incorrect was because they mentioned that emotional intelligence is not real. It is a part of your personality and then becomes real. So it's a part of your personality because emotional intelligence is very fluid, it's very subjective. And this model also stated that, under the personality framework, emotional intelligence, emotional self, all of these are constellation, and they fall exactly at the lower end of personality. So it's not a bigger chunk of your personality, rather a very lower sect of your personality. Then this was given by Petridis. Remember, we're doing a revision again. This is done by Petridis. Remember, it's a trait model of self-efficacy that they stated. They gave this term. See, what is self-efficacy? The ability to control your outcomes. And trait emotional will be the trait which is emotional trait of your personality and their self-efficacy. So if your emotional trait is having the, is having the ability to help you control your emotions. So efficacy is what? Your ability to control your outcomes. So if you have the ability and you know this, like for example, efficacy could be a person doing a science test and telling after the test that I'm going to scale a 10 out of 10 because all my questions were correct. So these are people who have the, who have the ability to control their outcomes and they don't know their results. People who lack self-efficacy would be trait emotional self-efficacy. They cannot relate to their emotions, and their emotions are very subjective, and emotional intelligence is quite simply not very good in these people. They don't have the ability to perceive. Now, the trait model obviously focuses on personality. Remember, personality is the bigger chunk here, and the emotional self perception and traits are a part of it. So the umbrella term is personality, not emotional intelligence here. Its testing is very different. It developed a questionnaire which had 153 items based on 15 facets and four factors. Four factors are something we've done ahead, and the 15 facets were given. So question has been translated to 15 language. So remember, the model essentially were applicable to identify the personality. So assessment is actually taking care of emotional intelligence questionnaire, which is based on personality. Ability talks about making you understand your personality on four branches: perception, identification, interpretation, and management. Whereas the assessment tool of trait model is more about personality and identifying it under the 15 facets that you have. So which is the bigger test thing? Personality is the bigger test thing, where emotional intelligence gets tested within it, because there are 15 facets over which we are identifying your traits, which is personality traits. Geno is completely different as a model. Why? Because it is not for individual testing or personality testing. It is testing happening to identify, because it was generated on the basis of the needs of the workers, business leaders, human resource professional. So completely has an organizational set of understanding. So when we say has a completely organizational set of understanding, it's applicable in the work sphere. It is greatly applicable in organizational psychology, can be used for them, can be used by them. And at the same time, it is designed that when we was felt to design a model, it kept in mind the needs of business leaders, human resource professionals, and occupational psychologists, given by Palmer, Storr, and Harmer and Gignac. And the model reflects the fact that we have some unproductive and productive states on the basis of the core competency. We've done the core competencies which are there in this. So, in a workplace, if you have these core competency missing, you would be disconnected, insensitive, indifferentiate, not trustworthy. You would be very limited with your support and help to people at your workplace, and temperamental. So, such a kind of workplace where people are like this, your people holding the organization, it is not a very productive place. At the same time, where you have self awareness present, you're empathetic, genuine, very transparent, expansive, resilient, which is high coping mechanism, also an empowering of your employees. Remember, that's the time that your workplace is reflecting high emotional intelligence, because it comprises of all the emotional competency. So, application. The trait model is usually an application for understanding personality. So, it's understanding emotional intelligence on the basis of personality trait. Application ability model, identification of your own emotional intelligence. Application of Genos model, it's identifying the correct kind of work productive and unproductive state, which is applicable and supportive to employees. It's now coming to the tool assessment. The tool assessment of the ability model was simple questionnaire, which was based on items and some tasks which is to be done by you, so that we can assess your personality individually. When we spoke about the trait model again was questionnaire which had some set of 151 items, but was judged on personality traits. So we are judging emotional intelligence by bifurcating into 15 personality facets. So again, everything relies on what? Everything relies on assessment of personality, and through that, emotional intelligence is being identified. Whereas Geno's emotional intelligence inventory, which was also another one, which was originally published as Swinburne University Emotional Intelligence Test, is designed for workplace. It's designed for your work organization to facilitate human resource functions, so that you're able to. So, the more functionality is of something which is the assessment tool of Genos, applicatory to the environment outside with 70 items. So this completes with three of the models that we came up today, and this tells us how competencies are converted and used in models, and can be actually, as emotional intelligence can be applicable not only to self but or to others. And at the same time, we can utilize emotional intelligence in our workplace and organizational system, which is also comprising of organizational psychology, of identifying people and understanding them. Hope the session was understandable and enjoyable. We will further continue with Unit 3 and Block 3 at the next session. Thank you.